Part 167. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1661. In the era of planned economy, whoever comes up with large quantities of materials will have problems. Most of the clothing styles in the space are not in line with this era. Food is packed in nylon bags. Most of the cotton purchased by Feng Qingxiu in the northwest region is compressed and packed into large bags of 1 ton. It needs to be used when needed. Use the machine to pop it back up. She had purchased a lot of well-stretched batting and cotton before, but it was only enough for her relatives and friends. After all, it would take several years. Feng Qingxiu was a little worried. In the current situation, she couldn't do anything good even if she wanted to. This sad and pitiful look fell in the eyes of Dean Lin. She smiled at the elegant couple in front of her and said, "The two leaders are already very good. Our place is already very good, compared to other welfare homes the situation is much better. I have something to eat, something to wear, and a place to live. What more do you want?" Having enough food and clothing has never existed in the orphanage. They just want to survive without starving to death or freezing to death. They endure and wait. As time goes by and they grow up, they can finally earn a way for themselves. Feng Qingxiu pursed her lips and said, "I understand. Just because I understand, I feel even more pity for these children who have experienced the warmth and coldness of the world since childhood." The children were very happy, because with the arrival of the leader and his family, they ate sweet candies and fragrant meat buns, which were enough to make them reminisce about the whole year. They couldn't eat such good things during the Chinese New Year. Even if it was pumpkin porridge for lunch, they still felt happy. It's so easy to be content. The Lu family eats 3 meals a day in spring, summer, autumn, and winter, and the same goes for the army. However, many people outside eat 2 meals a day during winter leisure time, around 9 in the morning, 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and after 5 o'clock. When it's dark, they can go to bed and rest. The orphanage also has this 2-meal-a-day model, and it has a tendency to be carried forward. Each person had a bowl of pumpkin porridge, a multi-grain roll, stewed cabbage and radish that were bland and almost saltless without any oil star. The radish tassels were pickled into pickles, and the cabbage roots were reluctant to throw away. The yellow pumpkin rice, with pumpkin chunks and skin, was a bit thicker than the morning, but there was still not a grain of rice in it. Not to mention rice, not even a single corn crumb was visible. Rice and white flour are all fine grains, how can we afford them? When Lu Erxiang asked why everyone didn't eat rice and white flour steamed buns, Dean Lin explained with a smile, "Although our ration supply contains a certain proportion of fine grains, during the holidays, there will also be an extra pound or 2 of fine grains, but we rarely buy them unless there is a newborn child in the hospital. Therefore, when we buy grains, we usually replace the fine grains with coarse grains. 1 pound of fine grains can be exchanged for 3 or 4 kilograms of dried sweet potatoes. Can give a person 3 or 4 more days of food." Lu Erxiang looked at the paper in his hand and frowned. "This doesn't taste good, and the fried vegetables don't taste good either. All the brothers and sisters in the courtyard eat this. You think it's not delicious, but they can't even afford 2 rolls," Feng Qingxiu said. "Moreover, they eat this kind of food every day, no steamed buns, no rice, no white bread, no candy, no cake, no malted milk, no canned lunch meat, no chicken, fish, meat, and eggs." Lu Erxiang's eyes widened. Eating such terrible food every day? He looked sympathetically at the people around him who were eating rolls, porridge, and cabbage and radishes. They were really pitiful. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1662. Zibao, Fuebao, and Yayan didn't say anything, and silently picked up the dregs of papers that fell on the dining table. The multi-grain rolls are relatively loose and prone to falling residue. Dun Dun and Zhuang Zhuang are smarter and imitate each other immediately. They behave very well and don't say anything bad about the food. Lu Erxiang squirmed and couldn't sit still. After tasting it this morning, he didn't want to eat it. Lu Zhang said sternly, Lu Erxiang, eat your food well. If you don't want to eat, let it be eaten by other brothers and sisters. And you are so hungry. Anyway, there is no other food today. Lu Erxian was actually very eye-catching and said angrily, I didn't say I wouldn't eat it. Then you should eat well and don't waste it. After listening to Feng Qingxiu's words, Lu Erxian said oh, and saw that his elder brothers, sisters, and younger brothers were all eating. He grabbed the roll that he took a bite and put on the table and ate it in big gulps. As expected, it was just as hard as the one in the morning. Eat. Mom, why can't the brothers and sisters in the courtyard eat rice and flour? Fu Bao endured it again and again, but still couldn't bear it. She is already over 9 years old, which means she is 10 years old, and she is quite sensible. But she still doesn't understand why the brothers and sisters in the orphanage are so thinly dressed and fed so poorly. Isn't it good to say that communism is good? Seeing them, Fu Bao thought of Lu Beizu and a small number of classmates in the class who were short of food and clothing. In front of everyone, Feng Qingxiu could not explain to her the reason for this result. She could only vaguely say, because the brothers and sisters in the orphanage have no jobs. Without jobs, they have no wages. Naturally, they cannot afford more expensive homes, rice and flour. So, Fu Bao, you have parents who earn money to support your family. You are much happier than them. You must know how to cherish it. Fu Bao lowered his eyes and thought for a moment, I want to study hard and make progress every day, grow up, go to work, and earn money to eat. I also want. I also want. I also want. The triplets scrambled for the first place but agreed in unison that they did not want to eat such unpalatable food. They preferred to eat rice, white flour steamed buns, egg noodles, braised pork. After this meal, the children who returned home began to appreciate their existing life and food. Lu Erxian will no longer think that his clothes are not as good looking as his sisters, and he will no longer think that the orderly's cooking is not delicious. Lu Zhang came back from paying homage to Wang Erxi. He was very pleased to see such children. This trip was not in vain. At least they knew that there were many people out there who did not have enough food and clothing. Feng Qingxiu was concerned about the situation in the orphanage and suggested to Lu Zhang to double the monthly subsidy. Let's spend less money in the future. Compared with them, our family is living in paradise. Feng Qingxiu couldn't help but said, tomorrow I will pack some wild game and mix it with some bacon from the space. The sausages were sent by comrades from all over the country to give them a happy new year. I guess the orphanage would be reluctant to buy meat. Although each child has a supply of half a pound of meat every month, a pound of pork costs more than 70 cents, which is enough for about 200 people. Buying meat on a monthly basis is a big expense, and 10 or 8 pounds of meat is not enough. You can stuff your teeth, but if you buy food, you can buy a lot. Lu Zhang responded solemnly, if it weren't for the limitations of the times, I could donate as much as I wanted. Yes, Feng Qingxiu sighed. Looking at Lu Jiang's look, she knew that Lu Zhang hadn't figured out a proper way to send some supplies in the space to the orphanage. He was really out of his mind. You prepare your plans to go abroad first, and leave the orphanage to me. Good. The power was out for most of the day, and I almost died. It was too hot to write. The laptop has power but no air conditioning. Oh, you are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1663. The date of the exchange meeting is set in March and will be held in the United States. The medical university that invited Feng Qingxiu is the organizer. The date is set from March 6 to March 8, lasting 3 days. Feng Qingxiu just arrive at your destination a few days in advance. Therefore, after preparing the information, she did not need to make any other preparations, even packing her luggage before departure in late February. Just after New Year's Day, Lu Zhang became busy without warning. The South China Sea entered a state of preparation for war. Naturally, special attention must be paid to border defense and the security of the capital here. After all, many countries outside are eyeing their own country's territory, but Feng Qingxiu took advantage of it. As the new year is approaching, I am not too busy. When I come back from get off work, I quickly make cotton padded clothes for Wang Zhao. Originally, Wang Quilin said she would do it, but after all, she was old and had to take care of the children every day, so Feng Qingxiu didn't let her work hard. The lining of the cotton padded jacket and trousers is made of new cloth, with new cotton wadding in the middle, but the face is removed from Zibao's old cotton padded coat. It has been washed clean and has no patches. The jacket and trousers covering the cotton padded coat are also Zibao's clothes, so they were sent there. It is inconspicuous when worn on Wang Zhao. Although Zibao is 3 years younger than Wang Zhao, in terms of size, Wang Zhao is almost the same as Zibao, except that he is much thinner than Zibao. There are too many children in the orphanage, and it would be inappropriate to give Wang Zhao a completely new look inside and out while remembering the old love. The other children were in rags, but Wang Zhao was completely brand new. Even if he had nothing to do, he would cause some trouble and give someone a reason to criticize Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu. Giving him 2 old clothes was different. Lu Zhang, who had just cut the thread on his trouser legs and hadn't been back for 2 days, returned home in the night. After dinner, the elderly and children went back to their respective rooms early, reading and sleeping. Only Feng Qingxiu continued to work under the lamp. Have you eaten? If not, I will give you a bowl of dumplings. Yesterday, I told Zulei to tell the logistics staff who delivered meat and vegetables, and a large piece of pork belly was delivered in the morning. My monthly supply of pork is 1 pound. Their family of 7 has their household registration here. That's 7 pounds a month, plus Zulei's 1 pound. I bought half of it first, and mixed in some meat from the space. Just to eat dumplings. The dumplings stuffed with cabbage and pork were not finished during the day, and the leftovers were frozen in a basket under the eaves. Lu Zhang knew the trivial matters at home, but he had already eaten in the cafeteria, so he held the documents with one hand and rubbed his frowning brow with the other. Comrade Feng Qingxiu, after you have eaten, I have something to disturb you. News about your plans to go abroad. Feng Qingxiu was stunned and her eyes fell on her husband's face, which was no longer young. What's the news? I just received the telegram from above, and the Southeast Military Region has asked you to go there. Lu Zhang lowered his fingers, pinched the bridge of his nose, and then lowered his voice. We all know what the situation is in the South China Sea. Even if our country wins the naval battle in the end, there must be some casualties in the middle, and I wouldn't worry about letting you pass if it's not safe here. So, you can't go abroad. Feng Qingxiu's first thought was this. Of course we follow the country's orders. Even if we can't go abroad, there will be opportunities in the future. Although Feng Qingxiu was a little regretful, her duty still prevailed and comforted Lu Zhang in turn. Doctors don't go to the battlefield. Don't worry too much. How long did it take for me to be seconded? Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1664. Feng Qingxiu couldn't let go of the elderly and children at home, and Fu Bao and the triplets almost never left her side after they were born. Recalling the historical records and looking at the 4 calendars torn off from the wall, Feng Qingxiu frowned slightly. Because Lu Zhang paid more attention to the development of the country and borrowed all the books and materials about the historical trend in the space, Feng Qingxiu also took a lot of notes, and there was still some time before the naval battle. Lu Zhang knew what his wife was thinking at a glance. In front of him, her wife was like clear water. It's crystal clear and you can see the bottom at a glance. Since August and September last year, the Zisha waters in the South China Sea have been constantly harassed. Many fishermen have been arrested, and more than a dozen islands have been added to their territory. My country has launched a border war strategy, and the two countries have been in a state of tit for tat. Now it has reached the point of intolerance, and the war is about to break out. Having said this, Lu Zhang sighed, our country is at a disadvantage in terms of equipment. All the 1,000-ton frigates are in disrepair. We can only send 100-ton frigates to sea operations, and this is very reluctant. On the other hand, there are several American frigates in the local area. Feng Qingxiu knew this very well, because the national strategic focus was on preventing the Soviet Union in the north, and investment in the south was much less. We will win, Zhang, you have to have confidence in our country. Feng Qingxiu patted his arm. The couple knew the final result better than anyone else. The naval battle took place in mid-January, and today is the 5th. The Southeast Military Region Secondment may arrange for her to be on duty in the military hospital, or she may be arranged to join the team on a ship and be responsible for frontline rescue medical work. After all, her medical skills are not well known. Regardless of naval battle, land battle, or air battle, as long as it is on the front line, someone will always be injured. Compared with rear work, the dangers on the front line are extremely high. Even if there are clear international regulations that the two sides are not allowed to attack medical soldiers during a war, it is almost obvious that the hail of bullets will affect the front-line medical soldiers. Lu Zhang himself is willing to do his best for the country, but he does not want his wife to take risks. This paper transfer order is heavier than 1,000 pounds to him. He really doesn't want to show it to his wife. I would rather this transfer order fall on me than on you. Lu Zhang pressed his forehead against hers, worried, and then answered his wife's previous questions. It is said to be a secondment, but the duration of the secondment was not specified clearly. I'm not sure when I'll let you back, and I'm even more worried that after seeing your medical skills, they won't be willing to let you back. Feng Qingxiu laughed. A soldier's bounden duty is to obey orders. Have you forgotten the rules of the army? The transfer order has been issued and we say we don't want to go. It will cause a series of troubles. Your future and the future of our children will be affected. Since it's a secondment, I will definitely come back. If they don't let me come back, you can ask them for someone, and I can also apply. Both couples living in different places are soldiers. After reaching a certain level, the country will transfer one of them to the other according to regulations. This is why she has been following Lu Zhang. Lu Zhang was still unhappy and his brows were knotted. Feng Qingxiu smoothed his brow. Don't worry, Zhang, you also know that I still have some good things in my hands. I will carefully read the information about this war. I cherish my own life more than anyone else. Nothing serious except death. But we are in the far north. I am going to the far south. The journey takes a long time. Isn't everything too late when I get there? Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1665. Even if we set off tomorrow and take an express train directly to Guangdong that is faster than more than 10 years ago, it will be difficult to catch up. Since it is a naval battle, the army is at sea. Lu Zhang said solemnly, you have to leave in the evening. If it weren't for this sudden transfer order, he would have stayed in the dormitory tonight instead of going home, because he still had a lot of work to arrange early tomorrow morning. The south is not stable, and the enemy forces on the northern border are also ready to move. It's late at night. Feng Qingxiu looked at her watch. It was already past 9 o'clock. This Rolex watch is very durable. It has been almost 14 years since I bought it, and the time is still very accurate. You don't need to bring anything else. They will definitely prepare it for you over there. The main thing is to bring your first aid kit and a few changes of light clothes. The weather is warmer in the south, so just wear a winter coat. Lu Jianjiao. The more he said, the more uncomfortable he felt. After a while, the guard and I will drive you to the train station. In the middle of the night, a train will pass by Wuchen and the capital. You can take that train to the capital. When you get off the train, someone will pick you up. Then you take a military plane directly to the Southeast Military Region headquarters and follow the arrangements there. So urgent? No time to say goodbye to your family. Feng Qingxiu's expression changed, and she immediately put down her unfinished clothes and went back to the house to pack her bags. Lu Zhang followed. Honey, you must remember, safety first, safety first. I know it is inappropriate for me to say this, but I am willing to go through life and death for the country, and I only care about you. Feng Qingxiu quickly stuffed the change of clothes, shoes, and socks into the bag. Don't worry. Lu Zhang was worried about her going to the Southeast Military Region, and how could she be worried about the elderly and children at home? The Chinese New Year was coming soon, but they couldn't celebrate the Spring Festival together. Of course, it was difficult for countless soldiers stationed in the army to reunite with their families. Feng Qingxiu took out some supplies from the space and stuffed them into a large box, and gave the key to Lu Zhang. Wang Zhao's cotton padded jacket and cotton trousers are just short of a trouser leg. Please Quillen to put some finishing touches, and Zibao's clothes are also packed away. You can send someone to send him a pair of cotton shoes later, buy him a pair, and I have prepared some mountain bacon that I said I would give to the orphanage that day. Lu Zhang stuffed the keys into his pocket and picked up the first aid kit and baggage. You don't have to worry about things at home. Your only responsibility is to ensure your own safety and fulfill your responsibilities. Yes, Feng Qingxiu put on her military coat and nodded heavily. The two of them went out under the winter moonlight, and the guard was already driving and waiting at the door. Lu Ran drove and Zhao Qing sat in the passenger seat. The two of them prepared a lot of things for Feng Qingxiu and put them in their net pockets. After the car got on the road, they didn't say a word, not daring to disturb Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu who were sitting in the back. The latter was chattering, "It's too late to hand over the work in the army. Fortunately, there are not many patients in the hospital at the moment. My work diary, they are all locked in the cabinet in the office. Come back and let the doctor who takes over take a look." "I will arrange it," Lu Zhang said. "When the child gets up and asks me where I have been, just tell me that you are on a business trip and will be back soon, let alone go to the south." Feng Qingxiu always felt that there were many things that had not been arranged, but it was too late. 11 Bao and Fu Bao is already big, so don't worry too much. Dun Dun and Zhuang Zhuang are very well behaved. Even Er Xiong, if he is very naughty, you can't allow him to act recklessly. Lu Zhang held her hand tightly, but his hand trembled slightly, and kept whispering in her ear, "Call me when you arrive to ensure your own safety. Be sure to remember these words of mine, write, to me, nothing else matters." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1666. The road is not easy to drive at night, and cars often break down, especially in winter, and often fail to start. Fortunately, today went smoothly. Feng Qingxiu got on the train smoothly, but her husband's warning to her before leaving still lingered in her ears. The train clanked at night, and it seemed as if one could hear the cold wind raging outside. Feng Qingxiu sighed softly and put away her luggage. Feng Qingxiu closed her eyes and lay on the berth undressed to take a rest. The order came so suddenly and she was not prepared at all. She still can't believe herself. I really left the Wuchen army and was about to start a new life, full of unpredictable future. It may be long, it may be short. Why was she asked to go there by name? She asked Lu Zhang, but Lu Zhang didn't know. It was probably as Tiao Ling said, and he valued her medical skills. When it comes to first aid technology, Feng Qingxiu is still number one in the military. Since Feng Qingxiu started working as a doctor, 9 out of 10 emergency patients who pass through her hands can be rescued. Instead of telling the patient's family or comrades that she is powerless, some say that she has good medical skills, and some say that she is lucky. Feng Qingxiu thinks that she is more lucky and can always meet some good people who are willing to guide and help her. This catastrophe destroyed countless high-level intellectuals, and the remaining medical talents were in short supply. Although there are workers, peasants, and soldiers students now, Feng Qingxiu has attended the workers, peasants, and soldiers university for 2 years and knows best what the situation is like there. There are very few students who really put study first, but most of them are still doing it. She rarely participated in various activities because she always used the excuse that she had children at home to take care of, so she had a weak relationship with the same group of students and had limited friendships. 80 to 90% of the medical students who come out of this situation cannot use it. They have to study basic knowledge for 1 or 2 years with a serious attitude, and have to deduct half of the time for activities. Not only do they not learn everything, but their clinical practice is not good either. The first and second batches of students are slightly better, but most of the students in the last 2 years have gone through the back door, which is even worse. Thinking about it this way, it doesn't seem strange that the Southeast Military Region seconded her there. Although intellectuals are looked down upon now, when it comes to hiring, all talents are in demand. Time passed by, and Wuchen was not far from the capital. Feng Qingxiu, who had not been able to say goodbye to the elderly and children, did not dare to sleep for fear of missing the time to get off the train. After all, for this train, Wuchen and the capital were just passing by. Stations instead of origin and destination. The winter in the capital is as cold as in Wuchen, and a cloud of white mist spurts out when you open your mouth. Wearing the new army coat issued this winter, Feng Qingxiu felt a chill in her bones. Her leather-gloved hands were carrying the first aid kit and baggage, and the 2 eyes in the middle of her scarf and hat were only looking at the flow of people at the train station. If someone comes to pick her up, who will pick her up? It was still dark at 5 or 6 o'clock, and everything was dark except for the lights inside and outside the train station that gave off a dim light. After walking a few steps forward against the cold wind, Feng Qingxiu finally saw a young and upright soldier standing in the cold wind holding a whiteboard sign with the 5 characters Wuchen Feng Qingxiu written on it. The calligraphy is very neat, but it doesn't look good, and it can't even be called regular. Behind the young soldier, there was a jeep parked, and the darkness could not hide its majesty. "Comrade, I am Feng Qingxiu from Wuchen." Feng Qingxiu, who felt like she had frozen into a popsicle, hurried forward to say hello. "Comrade, are you here to pick me up? Thank you for your hard work." Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1667. A clear and crisp sound of hard work penetrated into the ears, instantly dispelling the coldness in the bones. With his feet together, the young man held a sign in one hand and performed a standard military salute with the other hand. He said solemnly and seriously, "Serving the people is what you should do. It doesn't have to be hard. Hello, leader. My name is Xie Changjiao. I am Lu Shui's driver. Lu Shui sent me to pick you up." "Lu Shui, why did he send someone here?" Feng Qingxiu was about to ask when she suddenly remembered that Lu Shui's eldest son Lu Zhenhua was in the Southeast Military Region after he resumed work. She also didn't know what their child Han Ye, who was stolen by the nanny, looked like now. "Yes, Lu Shui told me that after receiving you, he will take you to have breakfast first, and then rush directly to the airport to take off on time at 8 o'clock. After putting the luggage in, he invited Feng Qingxiu to get into the car. After closing the door, he sat in the driver's seat. It took a while for the car to start. 8 o'clock. Time is so tight. Sitting up straight, Feng Qingxiu looked at her watch. Let's go to the airport first. It's better to go sooner rather than later. I brought some food to eat on the way. It's a long distance from the train station to the airport, and you have to factor in the possibility of the car breaking down. Xie Changjiao thought for a while. Yes, leader. Having been Lu Shui's driver for a year, he understands the dignity of cars better than anyone else. He goes on strike when he is told to go on strike without giving you any time to prepare. Once, Lu Shui was so angry that he was in an emergency. There was no traffic jam at this time, and the car sped all the way to the airport. The military airport and the civil aviation airport are not in the same place. What Xie Changjiao said was that he was going south on a military plane, and she was not the only doctor seconded. She got off the car and followed Xie Changjiao into the airport. She didn't see Lu Shui or other old leaders. She came earlier, at only 7 o'clock, so she told Xie Changjiao to go to the bathroom to wash her face, brush her teeth, and take care of her appearance and clothes. I'll see you when she comes back. 7 or 8 doctors gathered near Xie Changjiao and a few young soldiers, with their own first aid kits and suitcases at their feet. Feng Qingxiu, who was not wearing a hat or scarf, revealed her fair and pretty face, and a trace of surprise flashed in the eyes of the doctors. They were all famous doctors who were seconded by the Southeast Military Region and had a place in the industry. They were affiliated with various units of the Capital Military Region. The youngest was 40 years old and the oldest was 53 years old. Unexpectedly, there would be a girl in her 20s accompanying them. Why do you say you are in your 20s? You can tell just by looking at it. Not only young, but also as elegant and beautiful as a flower. The figure of Feng Qingxiu who walked towards them was almost the same as that of the female soldiers in the army. Her steps were very standard and neither flattering nor vulgar. However, the bloated and thick winter clothes on her body gave her a light and graceful feeling. Her temperament was unique and her skin snow white, one white covering all ugliness, immediately attracted everyone's attention. Could it be that she is a high-ranking lady who is taking advantage of troubled waters to share military merit? This kind of situation has happened before. The expressions of several doctors suddenly changed when they thought of this, and their eyes looked at Feng Qingxiu a little unfathomably. Feng Qingxiu has experienced a lot now, and is no longer the young woman who lived a simple and peaceful life in her previous life. She saw through the meanings in the eyes of several of them at a glance, stepped forward and saluted a military salute, and said with a smile, "Comrades, well, I am Feng Qingxiu from the Wuchen army. I am 32 years old. Please give me your advice after I go south." Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1668. The name Feng Qingxiu is very unique. Although it is not famous, it is not unknown either. The faces of several doctors immediately changed, and smiles appeared on their faces. One of them, a female doctor in her 40s, stepped forward and said enthusiastically, "It turns out to be Dr. Feng. I have admired your name for a long time. My name is Minglin." "Your name is Minglin. You must have never heard of my name, but you must know my teacher. His name is Lian Fengqiu. It turned out to be my nephew." Feng Qingxiu's eyes flashed. "Senior brother, are you okay?" "Teacher, everything is very good. When he is busy, he has to perform 2 or 3 surgeries a day, and he rarely has free time." Lian Fengqiu has superb medical skills and specializes in Western medicine. The ups and downs over the years have not affected him at all. After all, everyone cherishes his life. Most of the more complex and serious surgeries are performed by Lian Fengqiu, so he will naturally be spared. When Minglin said this, she remembered that Lian Fengqiu said that although her junior sister is not very old, She has a stable mentality, good skills, and is very studious. Many doctors older than her are as good as her. No wonder she is in today's team. Middle. The country has invested little in the south, and the frigates are in disrepair. Not to mention the lack of medical personnel. Who is not a smart person here? When I heard that Minglan's teacher was Feng Qingxiu's senior brother, I immediately remembered that Lian Fengqiu studied under Dr. Guo Mingguo. Could it be that Feng Qingxiu was also a disciple of Guo Mingguo? Someone asked unconsciously. Feng Qingxiu smiled and said, "Yes, I have been studying with the teacher for some years." Minglan smiled and said, "Dr. Feng, let me introduce you." According to the rules, she had to call him Uncle Feng Qingxiu, but the current situation did not allow the development of this old society's title, and she could not call him by his first name, so she could only settle for Dr. Feng. Feng Qingxiu naturally understood, and was grateful to Minglan for introducing her to her colleagues. What caught Feng Qingxiu's attention the most was a short, thin, middle-aged man about 50 years old. His name was Zhao Chenggong. He turned out to be Wu Zheng's student and one of the important candidates for the secondment. "I once learned medical skills from Dr. Wu. His students must be very powerful," Feng Qingxiu mentioned casually. Zhao Chenggong was stunned and blurted out, "What a coincidence." Feng Qingxiu smiled and said, "I actually became a monk halfway. I started studying medicine at the age of 18. I have never practiced boy kung fu. I have met many seniors in the past 10 years. Even if I don't have the status of master and apprentice, they all teach me carefully. Without hiding any secrets, that's why I am what I am today. My family, Lu Zhang, suffered a lot of hidden injuries during the war, and it was thanks to Dr. Wu that I was able to fully recover." A tall, thin, middle-aged female doctor named Tang Yan asked her who she had learned from, and Feng Qingxiu answered. First it was Dr. Guo and the doctors and nurses from the Southwest Military Region Hospital, then Wu Zheng, and later it was Guo Ming, Guo Xiuying, Wang Sanbao and the seniors she met in the hospital, as well as several old professors from the medical school. I shouldn't have mentioned a few old professors because many people avoided them, but Feng Qingxiu did not miss them. No matter whether they are in glory or in poverty, in Feng Qingxiu's heart, they are all her teachers. As a result, after these names came out of her mouth, the other 5 doctors all smiled and their attitudes changed greatly. 2 of them were students of Professor Xie, named Chen Kun and Zhang Nan. The other 2, Luo Peng, were students of Dr. Guo. Brother-in-law, Zhang Kaiming studied under Dr. Guo. Zhang Kaiming studied with Feng Qingxiu's senior brother Zhan Yueying for 2 years. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1669. Feng Qingxiu was astonished after hearing their self-introductions. Could it be that most of the elites in the industry know each other? They are either classmates, or they are family members. The Guo family seems to be a medical family, and most of their descendants are engaged in the medical field. Minglan couldn't help but laugh and said, "This is how our industry is, just get used to it. The academic world is already very small, and the medical world is just a branch of the academic world. This has resulted in the loss of a large number of talents. Which of the remaining top talents has no real ability? Which one has no background and origin? There are countless students from the same medical university, and the seniors lead many juniors. This is called a famous teacher giving birth to a good disciple. After coming and going, a large number of them will naturally be related. Even Minglan herself was actually a student of Capital University School of Medicine 20 years ago. Professor Xie also taught her. The difference was that she was with Lian Fengqiu during her internship and was later transferred to the military hospital. Speaking of which, we can be considered alumni. It has been 18 years since I graduated, Minglan continued. Feng Qingxiu said sheepishly, how can I, an engineering and soldier college student who graduated in 2 years, be compared with you, a real college student? I just got the reputation of Capital University. Minglan said cheerfully, who said that? Although academic qualifications are important, the skills you master are more important. When talents are needed, as long as they have a certain skill, even if they don't have any diploma certificate, the country will put them to good use. Feng Qingxiu was about to nod in agreement. After all, she did not have a diploma in the first place, but was interrupted by the person who urged them to get on the plane. She quickly put on her military coat and picked up her luggage. Each of them had travel experience. A first aid kit and a suitcase bag. After a brief inspection, I got on the plane smoothly without letting the first aid kit and luggage leave my side. Before boarding the plane, Feng Qingxiu said to Xie Changjiu, go back and thank Lu Shui for me. Yes, Xie Changjiu and other people who picked up the doctor did not follow him. They had to tell the leader when they returned after the task was completed. When they boarded the plane, it was not yet time to take off. Because they were somewhat related to each other, they chatted very enthusiastically. Academic words burst out one after another, and they did not stop until the arrival of the two leaders, and they all got up. Two old leaders walked with them, and several doctors were blushing with excitement. One was Ding Qiuabeng, and the other was an old leader whom Feng Qingxiu knew from the compound. They greeted each other generously. Comrades, you have all worked hard. You came from all sides in the middle of the night to go with us. This time the South China Sea needs you. I have seconded you from your original posts in the hope that your arrival can reduce the number of our sides in the war. I hope you will give the wounded soldiers hope in their new posts. Don't worry, leader, we will do our best to treat the injured. Yes, leader, just watch. We will definitely drive the invaders out of our territory. Everyone has the responsibility to defend the territory of the motherland. When the Navy fights bloody battles, we must do a good job in the rear and never retreat. They all expressed their determination, and they never flinched because they needed to go to the front line. Their awe-inspiring righteousness made Feng Qingxiu secretly ashamed that she did not have such a high level of awareness. Feng Qingxiu pays great attention to health and breakfast is indispensable. She asked the staff for a cup of hot milk since she didn't have breakfast. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1670. The two guards prepared a lot of food for her, fearing that she would be hungry on the road. Feng Qingxiu pretended to take things from the package and took out a few hard-boiled eggs placed in the space. She invited the two leaders first. He said that he had eaten, and then invited the doctors who came with him. Most of them had eaten. Only Minglan had not eaten, so he drank milk and ate eggs and biscuits with her to relieve hunger. The journey was long, and no one was restrained by the high power of the two old leaders. Some continued the previous discussion, and some directly talked to the old leaders and asked about the situation of the naval forces. This can be regarded as a characteristic of the times, because the old leaders often met with workers, peasants, soldiers, and students, and because most of the leaders came from poor backgrounds, they did not treat people with a condescending attitude. Ding Qiuabeng sat next to Feng Qingxiu. How are your father and Zibao? Helan talks about Zibao every day. After returning to the capital, he finally understood the good fortune of his grandfather and grandson. How many of them had not suffered when others were sent to various places? Therefore, Ding Qiuabeng is even more grateful for the Lu family's help. It's good. They are all in Wuchen. I set off immediately after receiving the order. I didn't have time to say goodbye to them. I wonder if they will be angry when I go back. Feng Qingxiu replied with a smile, I didn't expect you to go too. The situation in the South China Sea looks very serious. Ding Qiaoben nodded and said, "Yes, if the enemy doesn't withdraw, there will definitely be a fight." The fight has indeed begun, Feng Qingxiu thought to herself. The speed of planes now is not as fast as it was a few decades ago, and it was already evening when they arrived at the southeast military region. Different from the cold in Wuchen and the capital, the climate in the southeast military region is very warm. The sun has not set yet, and the warm sunshine shines on the face, blending with the waves in Feng Qingxiu's eyes. Feng Qingxiu raised her hand to block the sun, and saw her colleagues shouting about the heat, and hurriedly taking off their military coats and cotton-padded jackets. Their upper bodies were fine, some were wearing shirts, and some were wearing autumn clothes, and then they were peeling off their cotton-padded jackets. They had their coats on, but they couldn't take off their heavy cotton pants immediately, which made them feel very embarrassed and covered with sweat. Feng Qingxiu calmly took off her military coat and cotton-padded jacket, folded them and put them into a bag that was much heavier than before departure, revealing the white shirt underneath and the sky blue cashmere vest, which was fresh, clean, and beautiful. When she was taking care of her appearance and clothes in the bathroom before boarding the plane, she took into account the weather in the south. She put on her underwear, shirt, and vest, cotton jacket, coat and military coat in order. She took off her cotton trousers and cashmere trousers on her body now. It's a little hot, but it's bearable. If it's a little colder, just put a jacket on your upper body, it's very convenient anyway. The two leaders smiled upon seeing this and said, "Don't worry, they will definitely arrange accommodation for us." It meant changing clothes after arriving at the place where they lived, because the second elder also felt the heat of the cotton trousers wrapped around his legs, and it was so hot that he was burning. The person who came to pick them up was Lu Zhenhua, and there were two senior officers whom Feng Qingxiu didn't know. There were also cars that came to pick them up. At first glance, there were 7 or 8 cars. The two leaders were asked to get in the car first, and then they were seconded. "Here comes the doctor." Maybe the old leader had told them to send these doctors to the military area guest house to eat and rest. Lu Zhenhua glanced at everyone and said solemnly, "The two leaders will probably stay here for a few days, and you will have to take a boat directly to the island where the fleet is stationed early tomorrow morning. When you get there, there will be various arrangements for you.